have been sad to have to tell you so much bad news. And for those of you who never wanted to believe that bad times are coming, and I know there's some lovely people with great spirits who just didn't want to be negative and to think that the USA was going down, I sympathize with you. I went through that too, of just not wanting to believe it. So for you who are in shock, you have my heart. I'm sorry. And the good news is, I'm going to read a letter, and then after that we get to talk about good stuff. So all the ones, if you have noticed the background at all, we had all 15 out here, and now the last 4 have kind of a silver looking background, and that means good news. So we're getting ready to start on that. To be able to close off the bad, I want to share that Mary Beth, who we've loved from the beginning, and her husband Joger, and their child Joey, and the baby Gracie. When baby Gracie got sick, Joger, being a wonderful father, decided that he would do anything to get the medicine to keep her alive, to let her live. They just couldn't imagine their life without her, so he decided to do what was not a smart thing, but it was a daddy thing, is that he left the house one night to get some medicine. I don't know, but I think it was antibiotics. And knowing that he was taking his life in his hands, and Mary Beth asked him not to. But if you save her life, that might mean that we lose you, and we can't do that. But he made the decision, and he went, and he never did come back. And eventually baby Gracie died, and you don't need to know all the details, but she was wrapped in sweet blankets and taken up to the upstairs of the house, up to the 2nd floor, because they couldn't bury her. So Mary Beth used to pray, as you know, after she became a Christian and had a nice relationship with the Father, and learned to thank Him in all things, because everything is a lesson for later. She used to pray, "Please don't let me die before my children, because I don't want them to have to be alone in this house by themselves." And this is the letter that she left. And then we'll go to the happy news. I'm very poor with dates, but I have this down as August of 2017. To whom it may concern, you have my journal, which means I am gone. I am not a trained writer, but started keeping this journal when life on earth began to become bizarre. It was often overwhelming for me and for the rest of the world, so I have used writing and reading it, this diary, to help comprehend all the trauma and keep things in perspective. If reality continues in a forward manner, as we were all taught, who knows anymore? You have lived through all that I have, but you may not have been privy to the inner workings, secrets, and deeper understandings that we were. We face the reality of things we used to consider foolishness, the power of wizards and prophets, mind meld and time travel, and realizing that the unseen is more real than what we perceive with our human senses. Whether the first global visitation is now in your past, your future, or another dimension, I pray these truths and revelations may help you through your journey. That was in front of her diary. And it was touching for me when I read it. And I hope it's touching for you too, that she learned during her time, in bad times, there was a lot of spiritual growth. And she learned that Father is not cruel. If He lets something happen in your life that hurts, there's a reason. If just mathematically, if He allowed bad things happen to you for no good reason, He's cruel. He's getting perverse pleasure out of your pain. And that's not what our Father is. So she learned that if He lets something bad happen, there is a lesson that you will be grateful for in eternity. And we hope that you will learn that too. Now we get to talk about happier things. So this is scene 11, and this is after there had been all the terrible catastrophes and an EMP that actually lasted in the USA. Horrible things. Death by every sort. When I watched, I saw an overview at one point of the United States and the death by so many reasons. There was famine there, like the Bible says, only I really saw it. I mean, yes, with the 4 horses, that actually there are 5, but with the horses we saw, first comes the red horse, the white is the counterfeit, then the red, and that's when peace leaves the earth. That's coming up ahead. That hasn't happened yet. And then the black horse, which is famine and poverty for all. Unless you're just the very elite, there's going to be famine and poverty in your life. And then the green horse, which is actually the color of phlegm, it's mucus, and that means death by different kinds of plagues. So we've seen that now by this point. If people are alive, they've lived against the odds, because probably 1 billion people died just that day of all the catastrophes in that little 3-day window. So billions of people are dead. Everybody's lived through horrors, more than they wanted to. But they either got stronger in the Lord, and they have now rewards waiting for them in eternity, which is the life that counts, or they don't. And that's what you'll be walking through very soon. So the bad news is over. And now we're going to talk about, this is the very last scene that humans are in their normal life. And that is that there was a terrible war. Everybody was involved in this war. It was not in the United States. I think the United States was very downhill, but not dead yet. That comes later. But this war had 2 sides, and I only can guess who it was. It maybe was the Muslims and the Russians, and maybe the Chinese against the rest of the world. I'm only guessing. I don't know. But it was a horrible war, and the deaths were tremendous. And just as the leaders, the military leaders, were ready to push the button to be able to have what they call mutual assured destruction, it was at that second that Yeshua, to save his people in his world, comes back. We've been waiting for 2,000 years, and this is the only way I could show. It was marvelous. And how I saw this, I don't know, because at this point, Mary Beth is already dead, so it wasn't just her. He may have used her as one way to teach me things, I don't know. But I saw this, and it was, after the blackest black, it was light. And when the sun comes through the black clouds after it's been raining and thundering, and it was wonderful. So Yeshua comes back to earth, and this is what I call scene 11, but this starts scene 12, and we'll go to that now.